Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, we're going to be talking about the last of the Guilds of Ravnica legends, Lazav the Multifarious. What a cool made-up word. Anyway, he is, I think, potentially probably one of the most broken cards in. Wow. Just okay. He he has an ETB of Surveil 1, so naturally I tried to put some Surveil cards in there, as many as I possibly could. But that X, all right, so let's read it. X colon, meaning he can do this repeatedly because it doesn't require him to tap. It becomes a copy of target creature card in your graveyard with CMC X. How much money you paid? Except its name is still the same, it's still legendary, and it still has this ability. So you can do it over and over and over again. Now, that is a lot. What was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines of text. Well past the 6-line syndrome, what we used to call it. Anyway, so the things we have to do is we have to, number one, get creatures in the graveyard, and number two, we have to have the mana to turn him into those creatures. Now, Entomb and Buried Alive are awesome cards that you will not find in this deck. They need to be in here. Oh my gosh, they need to be in here. Because I feel like this could potentially be a. There's a possibility here for Lazav to be competitive. Now, y'all know I don't really do the competitive thing that much, and I think maybe not having the Entomb and Buried Alive is helping me in this point. But yes, those are amazing cards. And turn 1 Entomb, turn 2 Lazav, turn 3. Actually, you could, with rituals and petals and whatnot, you could be swinging with Lazav on turn 2. Wow. Anyway, I got the creatures divided up into two classes here. Ones you want to be, and then helpers. So, first and foremost, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Phyrexian Dreadnought. Now, Phyrexian Dreadnought, its ability, its downside doesn't even come into play here because in the graveyard, it is a 1 mana 12/12. So you spend 1 mana to Lazav to make it a 12/12 trample. Now, it doesn't come into play, so you don't have to sacrifice 12 power. So you just play Lazav on 2, and then. Now, obviously, with a Phyrexian Dreadnought in your graveyard, people know what's up. People are going to want to get rid of your graveyard, so watch out for those Bajuka Bogs. Anyway, you got to get Lazav through combat. So to do that, I wanted the cheapest CMC because we have to pay the CMC into Lazav to make him a copy of it. So, you know, the 1 mana can't be blocked. That sounds pretty cool because you turn Lazav into the Sliverblade, attack. They can't block it, and then as soon as you get past the declare blocker step, you change him into that Dreadnought. I've got a Invisible Stalker as more or less a redundant copy, a Drifter Ildal, give it its Shadow, which is not entirely unblockable, but let's face it, it might as well be. Everybody's favorite Ornithopter, because sometimes flying is all you need. And Ornithopter has a converted mana cost of 0. So you can activate Lazav's ability for 0 mana to make it a copy of Ornithopter over and over and over again. Yeah, that sounds dumb. Why would we want to do that? In case we have a Crackdown Construct in play, whenever you activate an ability of a creature that isn't mana, this gets +1/+1 to end of turn. Hey, that sounds fun. I'm going to swing at you with my infinite construct. Anyway, back to the cards that Darksteel Mirror was the cheapest card I could find that actually has the word indestructible on it. So you can, for 3 mana, I guess that's a lot like Aaron the Relentless's regeneration I said was overcosted. It's kind of like 3-mana regeneration. You change it into the mirror, it'd be all good. Now, everybody's sweetheart, Phage the Untouchable. She's really good, especially if you can get in there. If you've got the mana, you do have to spend 7 mana into Lazav to turn him into her, which is not the first people that have ever been turned into Phage. Just ask Chroma and Jessica. But here again, that lose the game ability doesn't apply because she's not coming into play. She is still in the graveyard. She's not coming into play, and therefore Phage is just 7 mana. Lazav hits you and you lose the game. Now, 2 of the new cards, Surveil. Because the General has Surveil on it, and I tried to play with as many Surveil cards as possible because, let's face it, I needed to fill up a deck. Now, this guy, the Phantasm and the Spybug, have really cool ability that whenever you Surveil, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So, these are in the graveyard. I mean, you can start off with these and play. They're cheap enough. To just cast and play them as creatures, But if they are in your graveyard and you turn Lazav into them, and you have an ability to repeatedly Surveil, Lazav's going to get those +1/+1 counters. Now, when he changes into something else, those +1/+1 counters are permanent. They're still on him. So if this is your early shtick, and they're like, oh, that's cute, you're just pumping up Lazav, and you're like, okay, here, let's dump a Dreadnought, let's go. It's bigger than a 12/12 trample now. It's how many counters plus the 12. It's a good thing there's no way to repeatedly Surveil, right? Which brings me to Doom Whisperer. Doom Whisperer, it's not the card you want to make Lazav a copy of, but it is the card that you want out there to, number 1, get creatures in your graveyard, and number 2, the Spybug shenanigans is not to be trifled with. Now, let's look at the rest of the... before we get to those creatures, let's look at our mana, our color fixing. Of course, I'm playing a Dark Ritual because, why not? The Cold Steel Heart, Dimir Cluestone, Signet, Locket, the Border Post. Hey, Wizards, can we get enemy color Border Post sometime? Anytime? Maybe? Okay. Drake Skull Cameo, and Plague Mirror. Now, Plague Mirror serves double duty. He is a accelerator of a sort. It's 2 for 1, and you got to wait a turn. But anyway, it also has Infect. So in a pinch, if this is in your graveyard, you can make Lazav into this little mana mirror with Infect. Hope you got a bunch of them Spybug counters on it. Anyway, let's look at the rest of the creatures here now. Scourge Familiar, we've been breaking that card since it was printed. It allows you to discard those creatures from your hand to get mana, of all things. Curator of Mysteries. Now, surveilling doesn't count as discarding or cycling, but I had a little bit of a cycling theme in here before. It was like one of the early themes, and I kind of ditched it, but there's a few holdovers here. I do have some, I'm going to call them spots for the Entomb and the Buried Alive. Chainer's Torment, things like that when I get those. This is probably one of them. I don't see, it's a 4 mana 4/4 flyer. Sure, it cycles, so I can burn it out of my hand to draw something else. Sure. It's not a terrible card. It's just, I figured that probably there's better options. Kind of like the Vile Manifestation. Same thing. and the Disciple of Malice. We're going to call those opportunities. Anyway, Whispering Snitch. Since we're doing the surveil thing, I'm trying to get behind and play with all the surveil cards I can or I have. The Sprite. I like the Sprite in you. It attacks you, surveil 1. It's all good. The Dark Blade Adept. Is it just me, or are we getting fuzzy or glary or something weird? As long as you've surveilled this turn, which is, I tried to put as much surveil in there as possible. I don't know if it's going to even do anything. The Predator, just because the rate on this guy, flying, death touch, hexproof, 3/3. Now, it's pretty solid. It's a heck of a blocker. And effectively, it's only 1 more mana than Vampire Nighthawk. From 3 to 4. Now, granted, the double blue, the double black. But in our format, that's not as much of a drawback as it is in others. And then, of course, our last creature is Blood Operative. Now, whenever you surveil, hey, so trying to... Thought Erasure. You could surveil 1. That's pretty much what this card does. Discovery and Dispersal, surveil 2, then draw a card. So hopefully what you're trying to do is ditch the creatures in your graveyard. That's the plan. Kind of the same thing with, I'm not playing with a ton of Jumpstart cards, but the card you're going to discard to Jumpstart, probably going to be, you want it to be one of the creatures. And it's an instant card draw, so it's going to dig you deeper. Speaking of digging deeper, we got things like drawing and discarding. Compulsive Research is awesome. Of course, Frantic Search is better. Thirst for Knowledge. It's all about drawing and discarding, drawing and discarding. Hey, Magus of the Bazaar. She's with the drawing and discarding stuff. She's not with the creatures because, let's face it, that's what we're going to do with it. We're going to draw and we're going to discard. We're going to dig, dig, dig. Chart a course. Pull from Tomorrow. Breakthrough. Tolarian Winds. Still just drawing. Drawing and discarding. Or, yeah, maybe not. And maybe the Curator here kind of increases a little bit in value in the deck because it does say when you discard, But some of them are not exactly discard. Like this one, you get 1 to the hand and the rest go to your graveyard. So that's kind of cool. Delirium Schemes, if you just want to be that guy, I mean, it is legitimately possible to turn 1, make yourself the archenemy. Swamp Ritual Delirium Schemes. That's what you do if you got to go and you don't want to concede. Zombie Infestation gives you zombies for your trouble with discarding, so that's not bad. Disinformation Campaign, another surveil payoff, I guess. It's not really a huge one, but Read the Runes. Moonlight Bargain. Here, now you just look at the top 5. If you only want 1, hey, pay 2. Just get the 1. All the rest can go to the graveyard. Radical Idea. Here again, it's another Jumpstart card. Just to be discarding. Surveil 2 with Notion Rain. Tragic Lesson. Drawing and discarding. Mystical Teachings, because we are dumping stuff in the graveyard, it is kind of a tutor. So it's kind of everything the deck wants to be. It's already blue and black, so and it is kind of a tutor. Run the Diabolic Tutor. Enhanced Surveillance is going to help out the surveil, of course. Whisper Silk Cloak for obvious reasons to protect Lazav. That's it. I will probably never equip it to anything but Lazav. Phyresis, because sometimes fun just needs to be punished. Why not give him infect? You know, sure. And fate transfer, because fate transfer, almost every time I've cast it, it's been better than a counterspell or better than a Doom Blade. Because you can transfer. We've all got the player. Here's looking at you, Jimmy. All got the player who's got that Hydra on, 35 counters. You know what? And this is an instant speed, so you swing into them and they block, and all of a sudden, I'm going to move those counters to my guy, make it a copy of the Dreadnought. Now it's got trample. We're going to trample over your little guy, and you just die because it's still commander damage. GG. Got a little bit of counter magic, of course, negate, counterspell, rewind, and playing with the Sinister Sabotage because it does have the Surveil. Little bit of removal, not a lot. As long as your opponent's not killing you, I mean, it's not. I'm playing with this because it has Surveil, of course. Tragic Slip, Terror, Rags to Riches, Evacuation. I mean, as long as we're not dying, in theory, whoa. In theory, we're just. You almost don't care, so I probably need to be running way more like board wipes than I am, simply because, yeah, so what? You want your creatures to die. And maybe I need to. Maybe that's some of those extra slots we were talking about. So let's look at our non-basic lands, because we do that kind of thing now. Submerged Boneyard. I'm going to go through just the blue-black duels that I'm running. Of course, the Guildgate, Backwater, Aqueduct. No, I do not have a Bojuka Bog in the deck. I did not want to be the one to introduce that into the game because there are some things that, like, I've had cards in my deck, and then my opponent randomly get control of a card in my deck, and it just ruins it because I brought that card to the table. So, Bojuka Bog ruins us. We're not bringing it to the table. Transguild Promenade, and of course Bad River I count because it's going to go get whatever you need. Desert of the Mindful, Barren Moor, Evolving Wilds, and our last non-basic land, say it with me, y'all know it, Rogue's Passage. Anyway, that's what I have got for Lazav. I am super excited to play this. The video won't come out before this next Friday. I think this will come out on the 21st. So I will have a chance to actually play this deck this Friday. Super excited about it. Hope it works. Now, this is first pass. I may end up just retooling it. And man, I hope that super competitive thing don't bite me with it and I just get like all, I gotta make it amazing. But anyway, I thought about Traumatized just to put half my deck in my yard. So I don't know. I'm that kind of guy, I guess. Anyway, I do appreciate you watching. Y'all let me know what you think. But right now, I think we're going to shuffle and cut.